Motion graphics artists are pretty consistently asked to just bring on text in a way that's very entertaining. This next sort of quick tip is going to be to create something that has the illusion of more work done to it than it actually has. It's this sort of color ripple effect combined with a move to help us work with null objects. So this is what we're going to build. It just sort of slides over and does its little ripply color thing. We're going to build the ripply color thing first and then slide it last. And you're going to see how we're going to slide 3 layers together in sync with one another. So let's start our new composition. Hopefully you're in a title animation based project. We're going to create a new composition and we're going to call this color ripple. Sure. That works for me. 1920, 1080, 24 frames is all fine. 10 seconds more than enough. Black background's totally fine. Everything here is good. I'm going to hit OK. All right, we're going to build first our title. So I'm going to say layer, new, text. I'm going to recognize already that my font is gigantic, so I'm going to pull back on it and I'm going to type I'm going to change my font to something a little more straightforward. Oh, sure. That's kind of quaint. I'll do that. Maybe I can still make it a little bigger. All right. And I'm going to go to align, which I have to go to all panels, and align comes up, and then I can say centered left to right, center top to bottom. That's pretty cool. This will sort of be our top layer. And what we want to do is we want to type this on. So we're going to go get an effect called typewriter and add it to this layer. So I'm going to go to the effects search field, which I had to scroll up to find, and I'm going to do type, and look, animate in typewriter. I'm going to drag it over, I'm going to drop it on my layer, and when I do, everything disappears. Well, kind of like when you script write something on, it's because the position that you're in is set to 0 starting position, and that's ending position. So in a sense, it already runs on for me. I'm going to stop at 4 seconds in, hit the letter N to sort of block off this little area as my work area. And if I play it from the start, it types in. Now, it's kind of slow. It is kind of slow. So that means there's got to be some keyframes in there that I can adjust, and there are. So if I start digging into this layer and I can see that there are text controls in here, and I all of a sudden start to see some keyframes. Now, when you're adding keyframes or when you're looking to sync keyframes, it's kind of nice to be able to basically have the program pull up whatever tracks have keyframes on them so you have it as a frame of reference. So if I started from a completely closed track and I hit the letter U, it says, oh, you have a range selector set here and there are keyframes already applied. That's what the plugin did by default. It adjusted the range for some text controls. So again, we can actually mine into this by closing it, open it again, and then dig into text. Go down, we're under the first animator, and there is the area or the level or the control that has keyframes on it, and it is what is the start. So if I go to the beginning, the start is set to 0. If I go to the end, the start is set to 100. If I want this whole thing to take place faster, I can just grab this keyframe and pull it down to be like half a second long. That's pretty good. All right. So all we did was take the keyframe it set for us and moved it over to make it faster, which is pretty cool. Now, we like this white color as sort of our final image. But what we need to do is do 2 more copies of this in different colors. So what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to do Command D 2 times. All right. So the first one, and I'm going to take the one that is our white one, and I'm going to click on the name, hit return, and do label it for myself and call it white. And then I'm probably going to want that on the top, so I'm going to drag that up there. And then I've got these other 2, and I can play with the order of them. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to make this one light blue. And then the second one I'm going to click on, hit return, and do dark, or maybe purple. Let's just do purple. All right, I'm going to turn off my top layer for now. I'm going to go to my light blue layer, and I'm just going to go in and change the font color. That's really it. So I can get the text tool, make it current. As long as I'm on the right layer, I can click in, select all of it, go over to the character controls, which are way down here, open them up, and say, okay, I want, instead of white, I want this to be light blue. And once I hit OK, I can watch it, and you'll see it type on in blue, which is pretty cool. However, I want purple also. So maybe we'll make that our bottom layer. I'll go to the purple layer, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm still on the title tool, but I'm on the purple layer, and I'm going to click, double click. I selected everything. I'm going to go into the color selector. I'm going to find a purple that I like. That's pretty good, and I'm going to hit OK. And now, if I play this layer, you'll see that. So if I want light blue to come on first, I'll leave it right where it is. If I want purple to come on second, I'll move it down a little bit. And if I want the white to come on last, I'll move it down a little bit. And now when I play it, it does a little ripple. The only thing is I didn't turn on my white layer. If I turn that on, we'll get the final ripple, which is the white. Pretty cool. Pretty straightforward. Now, I think my workspace is a little long, so I'm going to go about 2 seconds. I'm going to hit letter N to close that in a little tighter. And yep, there's my move. Now, in my original one, I had it sort of sliding in, and that sort of triggered the colors. All right? So the more delay you put between these, the more letters will be revealed. So what I mean by that is right now we have 3 light blue letters, 2 purple letters. If I tighten this up a little bit, then only 1 letter gets to be purple. All right? So you have some ability to control. If I don't want anything to ever be 2 letters, then I need to make the ripple happen faster. And then it just barely gets a chance to be 2 letters, doesn't it? That's pretty cool. To move all of these layers together, right, we want to slide it in from left to right and have it butt against the end, and that sort of motivates some of that ripple effect. But I don't want to have to animate all these exactly the same. It'll take too long. Well, that's where we use null layers or null objects. All right, so I'm going to create a new layer by going up to the layer menu, new, null object. And when you do that, it creates a track, but as you can see, nothing appears to be on it. That's because nothing really is on it, but you can in fact motivate movement using this layer. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to go in about this far, and I'm going to open my position controls for this null layer, which I can either mine into transform, or I could have just hit the letter P, right? Because if I hit P, it drops away everything but position. And I say, okay, let's say, and this is just a guess, right? But this is where we want this to stop. This is where we want it to land. So I'm going to say, let's make that a keyframe. And then I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to make a keyframe here, but I'm going to pull it over. So X and Y, Y is up and down, X is left and right, and I'm going to pull it a little bit to the left. Just a little bit, but we have really no way of seeing it yet because we haven't told anything to be attached to this null. So what do I mean by that? Well, we want to take all 3 of these layers, and we want it to connect to null 5 in this case. Your number may be different. But we want to basically say, all you guys follow what we told this null to do. And so there's these little spiral icons, and if you draw the spiral up to the null layer, and I go back in my timeline, you will see that it slid over. It's sliding when it comes in. Now that could have been a scale effect. I could have had this coming at us while this whole thing is rippling. I could have had it twirling. I could have it do all kinds of stuff, and it would apply it to all 3 layers. But you know it's applying it to all 3 layers because at this point, depending on where your keyframe is set, you could see that all 3 colors are moving at the same time. So if I moved it over later, then it would actually slide over, and you'll see that it's a little easier to see that everything is moving together because you get to see the white layer too. But I kind of like it fast. Having it sort of stop when the white starts makes sense to me. It feels like it motivates the color going to white. This is a very easy way to sort of ripple on illusions just by having one layer repeat itself and then using null to make a more elegant move out of it. And if I wanted this to not be such a harsh stop, I, of course, could right-click on this move, go to the keyframe assistant, and say ease into this, and it would give me a little smoother landing. I like it kind of hitting hard, but you know, you can go in and make these much smoother if you want. But that is an easy way to take a word and create a little magic.